shall know them by their fruits. Yeah, we gon' grow this truth. Step in the light, let the roots show. Talk is cheap, watch what the seeds grow. Not just words, but the way that we move. Heart on display. By their fruits you shall know them. You shall know them by their fruits. By their fruits you shall know them. You shall know them by their fruits. By their fruits you shall know them. You shall know them by their fruits. By their fruits you shall know them. You shall know them by their fruits.
All right, welcome to By Their Fruits podcast. I'm with my co-host John. What's up, dude? Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple announcements to make real quick before we get into it. One, we're not doing the Dark Enlightenment thing because some things really popped off today, current events in the world. So we might get to it in a little bit, but John's got some stuff to share with us concerning the ongoing Iran conflict. So we're gonna get into that. Another thing is that By Their Fruits has started their own YouTube channel. And John, is there any way to share your screen? If you share your screen, will it show up on my end? Or um, okay. I don't know what this will do to the live stream on my end. I bet you people on my side on the YouTube, dude, are just seeing me talk to myself. Is it? It's a no. Yeah. All right, your channel. All right, so yeah, it's gonna close my live stream. That's fine. They can go check it out after. Just check out the channel. Um, Okay, so on my side is the YouTube channel, the official YouTube channel for By Their Fruits. I don't know if you can share that or not. Okay. All right, so it is BTF Podcast Official, and if you type it in on YouTube because it's like real small right now that you probably won't find it. So if you type in um at BTF Pod Official, it should pop right up. You'll see my logo and everything, our logo. And aside from that, we got an email. It is BTF Podcast 7 at gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us. And that's really it for all the house cleaning, buddy. Yeah, bro. Amen. No, just amen, man. Everybody just needs to stay encouraged and keep your faith in the Lord because a lot of things gonna that are going down and will go down. It's gonna get a lot worse than what we see now. And God tells us to not let our hearts be troubled. So we got to really try to focus on not letting that happen. And the best way to do that is to give all your worries to God. So
Yes.
yeah, so let's get into it, buddy. We were gonna do the Dark Enlightenment, but again, a whole bunch of stuff popped up with the Iran conflict. So what you got for us today, bud?
Yeah, so this is directly from the Washington Post. This is an escalation. Russia is providing Iran intelligence to target United States forces, officials say. Russia is providing Iran with targeting information to attack American forces in the Middle East, the first indication that another major U.S. adversary is participating even indirectly in the war, according to 3 officials familiar with the intelligence. And obviously, for anybody who's listening, you're going to say, well, duh. But it's still a kind of being pushed in the mainstream media that this is occurring, right? The assistance, which has not been previously reported, signals that a rapidly expanding conflict now features one of America's chief nuclear-armed competitors with exquisite intelligence capabilities. Since the war began Saturday, Russia has passed Iran the locations of the United States military assets, including warships and aircraft, said the 3 officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the matter's sensitivity. It does seem like it's a pretty comprehensive effort, one of the people said. Reached by the Washington Post on Friday, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, declined to comment on the intelligence findings. Moscow has called for the end to the war, which is labeled as an unprovoked act of armed aggression. The extent of Russians' targeted assistance to Iran was not entirely clear. The Iranian military's own ability to locate United States forces has been degraded less than a week into the fighting, the officials said. 6 United States troops were killed. I believe it's more than that. And several others were injured by an Iranian drone attack Sunday in Kuwait. Iran has fired thousands of one-way attack drones and hundreds of missiles at United States military positions, embassies, and civilians, even as the joint American-Israeli campaign has hit more than 2,000 Iranian targets, including ballistic missile sites, naval assets, and the country's leadership. The Iranian regime is being absolutely crushed, said White House spokeswoman Anna Kelly, without commenting on any Russian aid to Iran. Their ballistic missile retaliation is decreasing every day. Their navy is being wiped out, and their production capacity is being demolished, and proxies are hardly putting up a fight. I disagree with some of that. The CIA and the Pentagon declined to comment. So, that's interesting that they are finally now admitting to it. And I obviously do believe that to be true. So any thoughts?
Dude, just like right off the bat, I think that we realized that if the United States and Israel got into conflict with Iran, that Russia was probably going to get involved because they're very close allies. So I think we knew it was coming, but the fact that it's like out there now kind of changes the game for us. Who knows what's about to happen.
Agreed. Yes. And I believe that this is entering into Gog Magog 1, which might parallel in World War III. Then eventually you're going to have Russia and North Korea. And I definitely recommend people go watch Aaron Fochman's Underground Publishing videos on Gog Magog. If he is correct, and I believe that he is, you're going to see, likely China, Russia, North Korea start to come down towards Mount Hermon, and they're going to be stopped supernaturally, by God, and weaponry will probably be involved with that, at Mount Hermon. So they're going to have to go through Georgia. They're going to have to go through Syria. Damascus is supposed to be completely inhabitable during that time period, so something's going to happen to Damascus where it gets wiped out. And we're going to see that occur as Israel's enemies are coming against it in the Middle East, and then they're going to be stopped. Now, during that time period, no one is supposed to be able to come to Israel's aid. And so America, if this is Gog Magog 1, would have to be pulled away to be able to really give any support during that time period. And that might be because we enter into World War III, right? So we get bogged down with fighting Russia and China ourselves. And that ends up pulling us away from being able to do anything, and would pull away NATO effectively as well too, right? So that would make sense if that is what is occurring. I'm not necessarily saying that is what is occurring yet, but it does seem like more and more by the day that we're getting confirmation instead of it going in the other direction. But it could very well cool down. It could, not escalate any further. I don't believe that we're going to see complete destabilization of Iran, where Iran completely falls and America puppet is put in, or a NATO puppet is put in for a long period of time. I think eventually that would be resolved, because Iran has to come against Israel prophetically, if we're reading the Bible properly. And so again, I don't think that's going to happen forever. If it does. And so it does seem like that everything is lining up for Gog Magog 1, which will be a part of World War III, which is the Red Horse Riding, which I believe started the moment Russia invaded Ukraine. And now it's becoming more apparent. It's becoming more hot. It's been a financial war in a lot of ways. But again, I don't know exactly the extent of how this is going to go. I'm just saying how I see it biblically as prophecy is playing out. And again, we could be mistaken. There could be no Gog Magog 1, for example. There could just be, not two Gog Magog wars, but just one later in the future. But we shall see. What are your thoughts to all that, brother?
It makes me think that if who was that Chinese professor that you were gonna do I think you did a 2-minute clip about, or maybe you haven't done the live stream yet. But
I have not done the live stream yet on predictive history, but I will on Jiang Ziquan, but I will do it eventually. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know if you want to bring him up, because his conclusion, he's an unbeliever, but his conclusion to what's going to happen is basically that the United States is going to get destroyed essentially, and they're going to lose this conflict, which makes things interesting, because I know that you and Aaron Fochman have talked about the outcome of all this, and he comes to the same conclusion. But there's a lot of interesting stuff about that guy that obviously is anti-biblical as well. I mean, he's a theosophist according to you. So,
well, yeah, from everything. I mean, obviously, when it's something I'm going to bring up in my video is when he talks about the Bible, he gets everything wrong about it, and then he talks about Gnosticism, and also gets some things wrong, but it's going to be part of my video. The dude is not a Christian. The dude is being platformed because I believe that he is pushing a lot of falsehood. I'm not saying that everything predictive history is saying is wrong, obviously, but again, his conclusions and what he is saying, and ultimately the way he presents God's truth is wrong. And so I look forward to that video. It was supposed to happen this morning. I didn't have enough time, but it is definitely coming. I've been watching a lot of his content to be able to refute it. One thing that he had talked about is the desalination plants being hit in the Arab countries, which would lead them to turn against Israel. I do believe that some of the countries Arab countries will obviously come against Israel, especially if Gog Magog 1 is a thing, like where we see Iran doing it right now. And so I do believe that to be true, but I don't believe, for example, that Saudi Arabia, to my knowledge, unless I'm mistaken, and Aaron can correct me if he's listening, or Jordan. I don't think Jordan's going to come against Israel. I don't think Saudi Arabia comes against Israel, if I remember correctly. And
Jordan is spared. Yeah, Jordan's one of the countries not mentioned that will basically be, they're one of the untouchables essentially.
So it's my belief that would not happen, because the desalination plants, especially, he's not talking about the issues between Shia and Sunni Muslims, right? There's a deep hatred between tribal groups in the Middle East that extend between Arabs. Even outside of religion, outside of the Muslim religion, if we're just talking about tribalism, it stems from that as well too. So to think that all of a sudden they're all going to come against America and they're all going to come against Israel is laughable to me. Especially if Iran destroys the desalination plants and they don't have water, who are they going to target? They're all going to come against Iran, and a lot of those countries are already against Iran to begin with, just because of the Sunni Shia divide. So it just doesn't make any sense. So his so-called intuition about what is going to happen as far as that regard is easily picked apart and debunked by anybody who logically understands parapolitics and aren't looking at through a Duginist lens like he is in the Middle East. So I mean, it whatever. Don't give it. This is a long discussion, but it's just it's laughable.
One thing we got to remember too is that the Antichrist will eventually destroy the enemies of Israel at first, right? So something's going to happen. Like if we're, our opinion is correct, or I lean super heavily towards it that Donald Trump's the Antichrist. So if he is, we will see him. We'll ultimately see him in the outcome of this war win against these enemies that are coming against Israel now, until the day that he turns his back on the harlot, right? So it's kind of hard to tell where we're at in the timeline, because we've had conflicts in the Middle East for how long now? So it's kind of hard to tell, but we can look out for these markers. We'll see, if we do win this, it would lean even more towards the fact that Donald Trump might be the Antichrist, and we'll know kind of where we're at just by those events going down. You know what I mean? Then we'll have like a solid spot to look forward to, because I don't see anywhere else where, we're going to come at a time where we destroy the enemies of Israel, right? Israel's kind of held its own, in the 7-Day War and all these other little skirmishes they've had, right? They've always had our help, but it seems to me like the United States will have a lot larger role to play in all these conflicts if Donald Trump is indeed the Antichrist. We'll see him destroy those enemies of Israel.
If he is, he would have to come after Gog Magog 1, where Israel is, and towards the tailor end of World War III, and he would have to come down through the Seleucid Empire. So he'd have to come down through Turkey. He'd have to come down through either Turkey or Albania or Bulgaria. He'd have to come down through to Israel for that to occur. And so, again, like, he hasn't met any of that yet. Like,
right.
He's got to meet those things, before I lean towards him being the Antichrist, and I've made that known throughout my broadcasts, but he has to fulfill certain things for him to be the Antichrist that he most definitely has not fulfilled. Right. And so, and again, I look at it. There's two pathways. You could debate of how intricate those two pathways are, but you have America could enter into a golden age and not be destroyed through World War III. That Trump is a massive military victor as the Antichrist. America doesn't go down, but is bogged out fighting a war, so can't help Israel during Gog Magog 1, right? But then Trump does come down, through the Seleucid Empire to put his base in Gaza, where the Board of Peace is building up, right? They're building up Gaza right now between the sea and the Holy Mountain, right? And then to be the savior of Israel, quote unquote. And so that definitely could happen that way. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for it to happen that way. So that is possible, but it is possible, like Aaron says. And again, I'm about 50-50 between both, to be honest. There is a possibility, especially if Trump is not the Antichrist, that America is destabilized and balkanized and really destroyed through World War III, and Trump is assassinated, God forbid, or dies, due to the stress of World War III or whatever, God forbid, and then another Antichrist arises either out of the Seleucid Empire area or comes down through the Seleucid Empire. It could be Nikolai Maladenov, who is Bulgarian, and so I can't, I can't rule that out either if we're trying to study eschatology, that those are all, possible. I'm hearing, for example, that they're saying that the Antichrist has to conquer Iran. No, the Antichrist has to conquer Egypt. And Egypt has one of the strongest militaries in the Middle East, actually, one of the most modern militaries in the Middle East. And so Egypt is going to eventually come against Israel. and the Antichrist fiends off and destroys and conquers Egypt and fends off the Egyptian army. So we're going to see that, I believe. Now, there is a debate of whether or not the king of the south is either Egypt or Iran. I believe it was Egypt. But, there is still commentaries that point it to Iran. I just don't believe that to be true. The king of the north obviously has to come, through the Seleucid Empire or from the Seleucid Empire. So Donald Trump would have to come through that to defeat either Egypt or Iran. I believe it's Egypt. But we'll see. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you. I know that Turkey right now is a part of NATO. But what is the relationship between Iran and Turkey? Because that would be interesting if
Eric Dewan said that he would already invade Iran, or at least put troops on the border to maintain a border so that people don't spill over and destabilize the Middle East. Now we'll see if that ends up happening. Because. Iraq switched, right? So Iraq switched from, America being very involved in Iraq to it, now switching more to taking a pro-Iranian position outside of the Kurds in Iraq, right? And Turkey does share a border with Iran, right, in the east, and the west of Iran and the east of Turkey. So he's talked about, Iran might become at war with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has a relationship with Israel. Interestingly enough, you would think that they would be at odds, but they are not,
right.
At least on paper. And Armenia is actually more at odds with Israel and more, defended by Russia. And America is neutral to Armenia. And you kind of have the Armenian genocide, which is occurring by Azerbaijan, and Armenia is a very strong Christian nation. It was one of the first nations in mass that converted to Christianity very early on. I think it was the first one during around, I want to say 300, 200, 300, 400 AD, somewhere around there. So, Russia has to go through, if you're looking at a map, Georgia, or Armenia, Georgia and Armenia, to get down to, and have to go through Turkey to get down to Syria. And so, if you're looking at a map geographically, that has to happen. So I don't know if Turkey is forever going to be a part of NATO. I don't know.
Right, I don't think so, in my opinion.
Brian asked in the chat, what about what Jonathan Larson said is true about Trump started the war, so Jesus will return. That's what the military brass told the troops. I could not completely confirm that. That comes from a NGO, which is a separation of church and state in the armed forces. And that's what they claimed through, not completely verified sources at the time that I looked. So is it believable and plausible for, a lot of the Council for National Policy members and people in the Heritage Foundation and their upper brass of the military to hold that position? Of course, yes, that they're looking for this to be, especially those that are staunch dispensationalists, to have the belief that this is triggering off Gog Magog 1. I don't doubt that, but at the same time, though, however, I can't completely verify it either. And so I kind of looked at it with an eyebrow up, and that could just be up planted and not be a true story, just to raise anger at Christians. Which persecution of Christians, I believe, is coming if the horseman rideth forth. So, that it could just be as simple as that, is just to make anger against Christians. But again, do I also believe that it could be true? Very much so, where we have Hegseth literally giving the speech that my friend Jeremy Rothkushel from The Antidote found and published a clip to give him credit. Shout out to you, Jeremy. Is that that Hegseth is pro building an acceleration of building of the third temple. So is there going to be some sort of false flag at the Al-Aqsa Mosque? I don't know. There's debating
Very
of whether
possible.
even the third temple is even there, depending on if you believe. Though I have major issues with him. What's his name? Help me out here. The Baptist, Stephen Anderson. So, his documentaries about it not necessarily being where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is where the third temple actually was. And so, if that's the case, I mean, it's everything's a mess right now, man. Something that we talked about last stream. The artificial AI videos stopped on X because supposedly the narrative is the EU was going to sue Elon Musk because of it. The other narratives going back and forth is America's getting his butt whooped and Israel's getting his butt whooped. If you believe the narrative coming out from Russia and China and Iran and sympathizers of them, and so they're not showing the videos because Israel's getting destroyed and America's getting destroyed, so therefore they're not showing the videos on X anymore. I think that all sides are getting hit to some degree.
Yeah.
What that degree is, I don't know. None of us know. And depending on who you cheer for, whether you're a cheerleader for America or Israel or a cheerleader for Russia, China, and Iran, you're going to say, well, my team is beating the other team.
Yeah, it's propaganda on both sides. That's the problem. Who knows what's really going on unless you're over there, boots on the ground, has some serious intel. But like, it's hard to tell what is real and what isn't. It's like the Axis and the Allies, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Allies have their own propaganda and the Axis has their own propaganda. Who the heck knows? But I think that we will find out eventually, like where we're at in this thing. But as of right now, it's real early, so it's really hard to tell where we're at here and who's winning, who's not winning, that kind of thing. But yeah, man, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up about this conflict here?
I guess in closing, we have them discussing the laser weaponry that we talked about in America.
Yep.
The defensive capabilities is called the Helios program. Helios being a reference to the sun. And so I would assume we continue to see the using and disclosure of energy-based weapons. And I think that will continue. And Trump is still alluding again to using the big one. So I think we are going to see what that is. I don't think that will completely destroy and destabilize Iran, though. Maybe the big one is used to stop Russian forces in Damascus, and that's what ends up leading it to be inhabitable if we're entering into Gog-Magog 1. So, I'm speculating here. I don't know for sure, but that it was confirmed that America is using laser-based weaponry to shoot down drones and missiles, and in America it's called the Helios program. In Israel, it is called the Iron Laser. So these laser weapons are being used and have been confirmed, and America is also talking about using ship-based Helios weapons to cut through ships, like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah.
And destroying them. So again, I don't know. We're going to see how far this goes out and what they have. I'm speculating, but it does show Israel showed that they have these weapons, and now America is now openly saying that they have these weapons. I mean, the Department of War CTO account has been openly bragging about directed energy weapons for months. Trump said he used a discombobulator in Venezuela. We have the news reports that it made the soldiers feel like their insides were being liquefied and incapacitated them completely because they could not do anything at all because of that feeling where they feel literally like they had the feeling of malaise, which is the feeling of a pending doom. They felt like they were dying, which rendered them ineffective to do anything. And so, again, we don't know. I don't know what is going to be used. Trump rated the war a 15 out of 10. Yes, he directly said that. The stuff that Trump is saying is wild. If anybody's listening to him, he's talking about pretty much that Cuba is going to fall any day now, and that Marco Rubio is going to be the leader of Cuba.
Yeah, I heard that. That's ridiculous, dude.
So
That's crazy.
It makes sense if Russia can't do anything to prop up Cuba. You know,
Right.
if
I mean,
Venezuela,
so far away.
Russia, China can't do anything to prop them up anymore, they're going to fall. Logic just
Yeah.
dictates that. So, you
Dude,
know,
the Christy Nome, this kind of goes into this little bit of news that Christy Nome was let go and put into a different department, and that department basically is for, and I'll have to get it, I can't remember the name of it, but she's the head of like basically the Western Empire, like
yeah,
everything that has to do
yeah,
with the
yeah.
West
She got promoted
and all this.
actually.
Yeah, it's basically promotion. Exactly. Yeah, dude. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, especially when we talk about Cuba. We got Mexico right now. Those two things, dude. If we get both of those, which I think that eventually will all
Special
merge.
envoy for the Shield of the Americas, a new
Yeah, like
security
come on.
initiative comprised of 13 countries. Like, really?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're just straight up telling you. I gotta say this real quick. I turned off my video because on the Zoom it's perfectly synced up, but when I look at it on the YouTube live, like it's so far behind. So I don't know if like the chat sees that it's super laggy on my end. So I just turned it off for now. But
Could
yeah,
be.
just let me know. Yeah. But yeah, man, isn't that wild? Like that is just straight up in your face. The Western American Empire. We're gonna take the Americas essentially.
Yeah, that was wild. And then Panics in the chat says it's like some NATO for the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian says in the chat, for what it's worth, guys, like Colonel McGregor says we're not winning at all, and I believe that. Colonel McGregor's a disinformation agent. He's a Duganist. He is pro-Russian,
Feel good.
and he is literally he has said so many times that Russia's going to completely stonewall and take all of Ukraine, and Ukraine is going to completely lose, and that was like years ago that he's said that, and it hasn't happened. McGregor's a shill. Now, whether he is an operative or an opportunist or a true believer, I can believe that he's a true believer. He's just deceived. He's just deceived. He's deceived by Dugin. He's deceived by Russian intelligence. So he's going to put forth that America is always getting their butt kicked and NATO's always getting their butt kicked, which is simply not true. All right. So again, I'm not, pro Voice of America, saying that America's conquering every war and Ukraine is, completely winning the war against Russia in the same time. Like that's like they were talking about how America was losing so no, let me mistake that. Russia and Iran, like Russia was losing so bad in Ukraine that they were going to completely be repelled from Ukraine, which is propaganda in the opposite direction. Just like, America's saying that 6 servicemen have died and, we've destroyed all of Iran's navy. And it's like, I don't believe any of that as well, too. Like it's somewhere in the middle. Now, what that somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle is, I don't have your answer. Has the naval base in Qatar, the American naval base in Qatar, was it hit pretty hard by Iran, by Iranian drones and missiles? My belief is yes. We are the IRGC in Russia is telling 600 to 700 American soldier casualties. I don't think it's that high. They're also pushing close to 1,000, I think now. I don't think it's that high, but I don't believe it's 6 either. Is it in the hundreds? Could very well be. Did America and Israel strike the school that was near the IRGC headquarters? Yes, I believe they killed anywhere between 50 to 150 kids.
Yep.
And so again, could I be wrong about that? Yeah. Could the pro-Russian propaganda be close to the truth? Maybe. Could the pro-American propaganda be more closer to the truth? Maybe. None of us know. But I'm saying these wide ranges of being put out by the propaganda on both sides. They're constantly like in the war in Ukraine. 1 week Russia's winning. The next week Ukraine's winning. It's like we really don't know. So I'm not going to get on here like Colonel, McGregor and saying, oh, America's getting decimated and brought down to its knees. Because I don't think that's true. Just like I'm not going to come on here and tell you guys that what Trump's reporting and America's reporting and Voice of America, that Iran's being completely brought to its knees and will be overthrown and conquered in 2 days. I don't believe that to be true either.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard the last report about Trump. He said that we destroyed 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them big, some of them small, and that, yeah, like you said, he mentioned going after the whole navy, destroy their entire navy. It, I don't know, man. I don't know if we've even destroyed 9. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but it's one of those things where we can see that there is a lot of Western propaganda going on in this whole conflict, and of course there's going to be, because this is America, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like that indoctrination, that patriotism, you got to keep it up, or they're gonna lose support for the whole thing.
And I do believe that if some peace deal is made in Ukraine, that Putin will get some Ukrainian territory that will be given unto him as part of the so-called peace deal. So again, for people to think that Russia hasn't taken over any Ukrainian land is wrong, so again, you're going to get propaganda on all sides. I'm not necessarily going to say that I know for sure exactly what's going on or I have any sources, because if I ever tell you that, it's a complete lie unless I do have sources, but I don't. At this time, I have no sources. Okay, I have nothing. All right, and so I'm just going by based off of everything that I'm seeing. I'm trying to bring it all together to form an opinion based off of everything. Do I believe this to be true? The information I have, yes or no, and this is how I see it. And I know there's a massive amount of propaganda, the same thing that I've cautioned last time, the same thing you cautioned, brother. And we need to pray. We need to pray that God gives us discernment. We need to pray that we don't get emotional and we don't swing one way or the other, which I'm prone to. I admit it. I fall short. And realize that we need to pray that for peace. We need to have empathy that people are dying. They're dying. Okay? And war is bad. All right? And so, we have to, pray for peace, pray that God pours his grace out and his mercy, and we know that God will extract the ultimate good out of all of this. And, just have trust and faith in the Lord, and don't let our hearts be troubled. Don't have anxiety. If anything, and it's been this way for a while, these are the birth pangs. These are the wars and the rumors of wars, I believe, and I think they are intensifying into War 3 and Gog Magog 1, but we shall see. Domestically, though, I know everybody's going through it. Me and Jeremy are going through it. It's a sign of the times, brothers and sisters.
Let me tell you.
It was a bad economic report today. Didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Trump has not been reporting the economic numbers like he should have been. We've known that. That's been reported in the news as well. And so unemployment is on the rise. And obviously, oil is going through the roof. Now, that may not be permanent. We might start, getting oil more in mass from Venezuela and being able to refine it. But America has only so many refineries, So the price of oil might come back down. Things might stabilize in the Middle East and pop off again later, and oil might come back down. So I'm not going to say that oil is going to go to $200 to $300 a barrel. It could. I don't know. But I can tell you right now, it's going up. It's going up. I don't know for how long. It's affecting me as a DoorDasher. Because it costs more DoorDash. And it ain't like Peter Thiel's going to be paying more money. So again, don't let your heart be troubled. None of us fully truly know. To the extent of how things are going to play out. We need to be in the Word. We need to trust on in and on the Lord, and just pay attention, man. And trust that God will give us our daily bread, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And just to add to that real quick, and then I need you to hold it down just for a minute. But one of the things is that God says, Paul states that people's, men's hearts are going to fail them for what's to come upon the earth. And I think that if right now, especially, like, we see these things, it feels like it's so close to home. America is being affected by all of this. We have to prepare our hearts spiritually for the things that are going to come, because you don't want to become like another prophetic statistic. You know what I mean? Like, if you know that men's hearts are going to fail them, then make sure you prepare your heart so that your heart don't fail you. You got family, you got kids. Doesn't matter what you're going through. If you think that what you're going through here domestically is at all bad, it is, and it's hard, but it's nothing like what is supposed to prophetically come upon the earth. So we need to prepare our hearts mostly in this time. And who knows where this conflict's gonna lead, dude. Um,
Yes, and
yeah,
to that I would also say, here is a good time
hold it down
to
real quick.
yes, here's a good time to remind you, as I'm trying to remind myself. If you're not physically fit and you're not in the best health, now is the time for you to put your flesh under control. And I'm saying this to myself. I'm trying to do it too. I've lost some weight. My weight roller coasters and fluctuates. I need to stay on it. If we are entering in to World War III and Gog Magog 1, if we are entering into, later on the tribulation, to keep our hearts from failing to the best of our ability, we also need to be physically able to, if all possible, to get our health under control, to crucify our flesh. We need to get our diets under control, myself included. I'm trying to do that right now. I'm trying to be more healthier. I'm trying to do that. It's always been a lifelong struggle for me. Food has always been a source of comfort. I'm not, extremely obese by any manner, but I am overweight. I am. And I'm doing my best to try to get that under control. We all especially should take care of our health as much as possible, because we might be entering into a time where we need to be as healthy as we can to serve the Lord properly, for the Holy Spirit to use us, for God to use us properly. So I just want to say that, and I'm not, yelling at anybody beams in their eye, because I am confessing to you right now that I have struggled with this my entire life. And I remorseful about it, and I want to change. And even if it is not the end, I still want to be healthy so that God can use me, and I still want to be healthy for my family and my friends and my community around me. So I just want to make that known, that it's something that we should do as well too. Just in general, obviously, a lot of people don't look at overeating, or gluttony as a sin. It very much is, and it's one of the most overlooked sins, because people just don't think of it as being so.
Yeah,
And I understand that, because it's overindulgence, and that's what a lot of sin is overindulgence, and living out what we want instead of what God wants for us. So I do want to discuss that, and obviously make that known. And if anybody's listening out there that's struggling, I'm struggling too. We got to take this to God, and we got to do the best of our ability to be able to try to do that.
yeah. That's a good point, dude. Because you got to be healthy. Like if your body isn't healthy, like that will affect your mind health, right? So your mental health will go down, and that effectively will affect your spiritual health. You know what I mean? So it's important to have your health in order, so that your mind can be strong, and that your spirit can be strong too. If you, it one affects the other ultimately, and that being this is part of your profession. Fixing your gut, that's way more important than people realize. So it is important to make sure that your body is healthy, so your mind can be healthy and your spirit can be healthy.
Yeah, I don't want to be I don't want to be a hypocrite. My
Especially,
digestion is good, but again, like I said, I need to lose weight. And I
yeah.
admit that. And so, I need to get healthier.
But
DoorDash has been helping me. I'm walking, 4 to 6,000 steps a day, plus,
my
sometimes as
man,
much as 10. So it has helped me be more active. And I don't want to be lazy and a sloth. But yeah, so, in I guess to all of that, the economy is getting worse. Um, you know, um, it's getting so, from what I've seen by the various economic videos that I've watched, is it's gotten really good for those who have wealth, especially with the stock market increasing like it is. There's even social safety nets that will end up being kind of protecting somewhat, even though that's been curtailed by the Trump administration, of the lowest class, right? To a degree. But those things are failing, and there's a lot more homeless people because of it. The middle class is getting completely squeezed into the lower classes now.
yeah, been a long time goal too. That's
Um,
been a long time goal for a
and
while now.
so that's why right now, what used to be a good living wage of $50,000 to $100,000, which used to be considered middle class, is no longer considered middle class. And it's getting wild, man. It's getting wild. So I don't know what to say about it all, but again, Put your trust in the Lord. Don't let your heart be troubled. Try to focus on the moment instead of what's going to happen in the future, if all possible. Cast your worries and burdens unto Him. But, the economic news that came out today was not great.
Yeah, important to touch on. Real quick, if anybody can tell me in the chat, my video's back on now. If it's laggy on the
It's
YouTube
normal
end,
now that I see.
okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, on my end it shows I'm so far behind. That's why I shut it off. But yeah, I don't know how much time you got left. How much time you got left, so we can
I got about 20. I
possibly.
got about 20 minutes. Aaron said in the chat, none of the Arabs will come against Israel. They will be seen as whores to the west. The stand countries in North Africa will provide most of the troops, along with North Korea and Russia. Yeah. I definitely
Should have had him on.
see it that way as well too. Yeah, we should actually have Aaron back on again
Yeah,
to discuss Gog Magog 1 and his thoughts about that.
there'll be plenty more to come. I mean, this is just beginning. They predict 4 to 5 weeks of war. I bet you it's gonna last longer than that, in my opinion. But we got more to talk about, and we will by Monday too when we do our next show. So if Aaron's free and he wants to hop on with us, like, you're always welcome, brother.
Yeah, very much so, Aaron. I'll try to get up with you and try to get up a time. But so what else are you seeing, man, or anything that I had missed? There also, I guess, economic one thing real quick is BlackRock supposedly, allegedly, is reducing withdrawals, saying that they have run out of the cash flow to be able to do so. BlackRock has put limits on withdrawals from a flagship private credit fund after a surge of redemption requests per Reuters. So yeah, another marker the economy ain't doing great. Yeah.
Yeah, BlackRock saying that. That's actually saying a lot, dude. You know what I mean? They manage the money for like 2/3 of the world at this point. So if they're reducing that's saying a lot about the economy
Yeah,
right
so the
now. And
United
this
States.
war is only going to affect so much. Like, a lot of people will be making profit, as they always do in war. Like, these private companies guarantee you that the stocks in like Lockheed Martin and stuff like that, Raytheon, those stocks will probably go up. But even BlackRock, I believe, has a own stake in both those companies too. So they'll still be making money.
Oh, of course, yes.
Throughout this, for sure.
We have the continue. I guess in closing, I want to say the U.S. lost 92,000 jobs in February, and the unemployment rate rised, which was counter to what believed was going to be the case. It rose to 4.4%. I believe it's higher than that. I believe the unemployment rate has always been marked wrong because it's just an aggregate of people that are so-called looking for jobs and are unable to find them. There's people that are, there's multiple reasons why the unemployment rating is usually inaccurate. Or a slow growth indicator of the economy. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I believe the economy is going to continue to get worse over time. At least for a time period, it may all of a sudden soar to some sort of golden age. I just don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Trump now just retruthed unconditional surrender for Iran. So unconditional surrender is Trump's official position now on Iran.
America.
So, yes. Yeah.
Did you see the California Post or the New York Post article? You mentioned the space laser thing that Israel was using.
Yes, the iron laser, iron beam.
Yeah. So yesterday, the New York Post came out, and their title is "Laser Weapons Deployed in Operation Epic Fury as Space Force Stops Iran's Missiles in Their Tracks."
Yeah, that was the Helios system that was used by Space Force. Yeah.
And I do know that we've been, I think it was back in 2016, I want to say 2016 to 2018. I did see that we were using those lasers and putting them on our new battleships back then, and they were used as like a beta. And I guess, I mean, anytime that they say that, I think that they're already in full operational use. We've had it for a while, but now we're seeing them in operation and in action. So that's pretty crazy, man. Just what else is going to come out,
So to that, HP Lovecraft says in the chat, late to the show, did they mention the Saudi Lion City project is abandoned and going to be AI super data center? I saw Polymarket state that, but I have not got an original source for that. So before I was going to report that in mask, I need a source. But I saw Polymarket put that exactly still up. So, I mean, that I'm watching it. I'm going to send it to Aaron, once I got confirmation on that. But Again, I haven't got a confirmed source when I looked an hour ago, but that was pushed by Polymarket. I saw it on Twitter that the line has been completely abandoned and will just be an AI data super center in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. So I did see that, but again, I need confirmation of that before I even. And again, I'm saying here, I don't have confirmation, therefore, don't believe it to be true. Okay, I'm just saying it is being pushed. And Panex said, "Isn't Polymarket just Cambridge Analytica 2.0?" Yes, duh. That is correct, sir. And so Panex also asked, "Would love to hear our thoughts about this Candace versus TPUSA feud." Sure.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'll give my few minutes spill, and then Jeremy, you of course add on to it. Candace and Tucker are pushing the controlled noticing, where Tucker came out and talked specifically directly about Chabad Lubavitch and his issues with Chabad Lubavitch, which made a lot of boomers learn about the ultra-Orthodox, Kabbalist, racist cult Chabad Lubavitch. So, that brought them into more of noticing of what's going on as far as Israel and Mystery Babylon and everything. So, that's going to continue. People are going to, instead of, tell it the mass of people being mad at the Israeli government or being mad at the Mossad or being mad at, Chabad Lubavitch and what they taught with, Minchaim Schneerson. Instead, they're going to, again, something that we've talked about on this channel, something Aaron Fochman has talked about in Underground Publishing long before I even talked about it, but it's something that I am seeing and is going to happen, which is the world is going to continue come against the Jews and is going to continue scapegoating the Jews. Okay? So that is what's happening right now. Candace is also magnifying that as well, too, with everything going on. There being the two banner carriers for that to the boomer generation. And, right now you have, like you said, Candace versus TPUSA, where obviously I've had many issues with TPUSA. I've been covering my issues with Charlie Kirk's organization for many, many, many years, being Council for National Policy connected, funded everything. Like putting platform and talking points at the CMP. I talked about all of that. But, it's... There's some truth saying between both sides, but there's a whole bunch of lies and propaganda being pushed by both sides as well, too. So it's like, obviously, I'm not a fan of Candace. She's also pushing Catholicism as the one true faith, which is false. And, she is part of the controlled noticing. And she's exposing to Turning Point USA, but without really drilling in certain issues like the Foster Freeze problem, because she was also funded by former Council for National President Foster Freeze. So she ain't going to mention that. You're not going to hear that combination be brought together out by her. If it does, I'll eat a hat, but I don't think it's going to happen. And second, I want to mention, too, about Candace Owens is... she is beginning to push the Sabbatean Frankist narrative, which was also being pushed by the predictive history guy, which is the main crux being pushed by David Icke. So and now that all comes from Rabbi Antelman, who was very much, in league with Chabad Lubavitch. So, it's so complex, man. But I don't trust Candace. She's a shill. Tucker's a shill. I've done 20 plus episodes showing Tucker being a shill. They're just doing what they're doing. They're pushing the false Great Awakening. They're pushing people away from Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying everything they're saying is false, just like I'm not saying that everything that Charlie Kirk said and everything that Turning Point USA said was false. However, Charlie was also leading people to Christian nationalism and Mormonism and Scientology and so it's all problematic, Yeah,
it's funny. What they all have in common too, dude, is like you got Candace Owen, Roman Catholic. You got Nick Fuentes, Roman Catholic. You have even Erica Kirk is a Roman Catholic. So it seems like, I don't know, man. Like it's just all of this seems just so controlled and like this is a purpose. purposely dividing while behind the scenes they're probably all hanging out having drinks. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know about Tucker being involved with that because he claims to be a Protestant, but me and you have talked about
a weak
that.
Protestant, which he seems
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
trending more
yeah.
towards Christian nationalism at one time and Calvinism.
Oh yeah.
But with his most recent Holly Huckabee interview, he seems to be trending to Gnosticism.
Oh yeah. Well, me and you discussed him before too, and his involvement in the Kabbalah, which is heavily a tool used in Gnosticism as well. But somebody said, who is it?
And Panic said Judaizing. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was his book on Sabbath keeping. I actually read parts of it. It doesn't like he presents both sides, but then he's like, I keep it, therefore people should, right? So he's got 2 chapters that presents both sides of why you should and why you don't have to, but the whole book still is softly pushing Sabbath keeping and Judaizing. Okay.
Right.
So, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good, man. But Propaganda said in the chat, he said Putin was raised by Chabad Lubavitch, and I have not been able to confirm that he was raised by them, but I do know, and John talked last time, that Chabad Lubavitch has such power in Russia, in the United States, Israel, obviously, Argentina, Venezuela now, and what they're trying to do in Iran, as I mentioned, that they might be doing this what they're trying to do with the regime change is put in a Zionist Jew in power too. And there's some pictures that came out of the guy that Trump is backing now of him wearing the yarmulke at the wall, like we see all these other world leaders of all these other places kind of doing right now. So again, I'm just saying that I don't know if Putin was raised by Chabad Lubavitch, but
he's
it's
definitely
a fact
in with Chabad Lubavitch.
Yes, he's in with them, and they have extreme power in Russia.
Yes.
So this whole, I just don't see that the conflict between the United States and Russia is actually real. There's just Putin and Trump are good friends. I mean, you both got Chabad Lubavitch on both, in both countries that are running the place, and all this is leading to a scripted agenda. Is the best way that I can put it, which eventually will lead to prophecy. But it's so hard to that whole phrase that the world is a stage. It's really hard not to see it that way.
Yeah, but Satan wants you to see it that way.
Right. But and I'm not saying that they don't have their real internal conflicts and external conflicts and stuff, but it just seems to me that much of it is truly, how would you say, it's like a play. And the world is like a stage. And I don't mean that nothing's real. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that there are things between Vladimir Putin and Trump that you could tell they're good friends, dude. And but like in the mainstream medias have been pushing since the 50s, Russia's bad. Watch out for Russia, watch out for communism and blah, blah, blah. Well, we're sitting here in a fascist country right now, dealing with what we're warning against Russia having influence on. You know what I mean? It's just, It just seems so, I could rant on forever about it, but
real quick,
yeah.
My other friend Aaron mentioned to me, want to correct, Steven Anderson was not who made the Third Temple documentary. That was Paul Wittenberger. So
yes,
my bad.
It says it's 500 feet down the road.
Yeah, I want to
in the city of David.
Correct that. I apologize about that. I always associate Steven Anderson with it, but that is correct. So.
Yeah, does it even matter though whether it's 500 feet down the road or not? Like most of the world thinks that the Temple Mount is where it's at.
And it's going to be the abominable
temple
or
not.
It's going to be the abominable temple.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
exactly. Does it really matter where they end up putting it? If they do?
Well, I mean,
really.
I would assume it has to be within Jerusalem or Israel, but yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and I mean, obviously, but I mean, from the from where they're saying it's located now to where the alternative view is only 500 feet apart. I mean, come on. Prepared for something else. So Monday, if God willing, we're gonna end up doing the Dark Enlightenment episode, and I have a ton of notes on that, and we can go so many places with it. That'll be good. Thank you for bringing a lot of this stuff to my attention today, and I'll try to keep an eye on it in case we have to do some sort of emergency episode. We can hop on here and
we will do, unless God forbid something goes insane. Okay, like the world just like we will do the Dark Alignment episode on Monday. We'll also try to have Aaron Fochman on next week as well too from Underground Publishing. Definitely, everybody listening, go subscribe to his channel. And one last thing, Father, quote unquote, called no man father, called no man rabbi, Chad Rippinger discusses the third temple, Julian the Apostate, and how temple Judaism ended with Christ, and that Christ fulfilled the third temple prophecy, guaranteeing it will never be rebuilt. And this was on Sean Ryan's podcast. The temple will never be rebuilt. Julian the Apostate tried to rebuild it, and it was destroyed in the process, which, again, Julian the Apostate did try to rebuild it, tried to get the Jews to return to Israel, and did not happen. That is true, okay? Christ put it into the Jewish sacrifice on purpose. He gave them one generation to convert to Christianity, and when they didn't, he put it into their sacrifice. Well, it was always foretold that the temple was going to fall. There hasn't been practicing Jews in 2,000 years because the temple hasn't been around. Their priestly line was been destroyed. So it's very interesting that we're going to get the all-millennialist Catholic presentation, that it all happened in 70 AD and it's not going to happen again, and that's being pushed specifically on Sean Ryan's show. It's just saying.
Yeah,
Just saying.
yeah.
So,
Okay, before we go, are you able to show the YouTube channel one more time? I just want to encourage people to go and subscribe to the new By Their Fruits YouTube channel. I don't know can you show it on your end, or do I need to bring it up
yeah,
on
I
mine?
can show it on. What did you say to search for it again? By Their Fruits.
Yeah, so it's by their BTF Pod Official. If you put the @ in front of it in the search bar, it should bring it right up. It's a pain in the butt because I guess a bunch of channels have the same name. So
Yes.
So there's that. Yeah, go and subscribe to the new By the Fruits YouTube channel. John, I just wanted to mention, you put in that it was episode 67, but this is
68.
episode 68.
Apologize,
Yeah, so
that's
you're
my
good. I just wanted to let you know.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I'm very bad with numbers. Don't ever have me do anything with numbers. But anything else you want to say in closing, brother?
In closing, if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at btfpodcast7@gmail.com. Also, just want to encourage you guys to stay true to the faith. Don't let your heart fail you for what's to come upon the earth. Prepare yourself spiritually, and just make sure your body's healthy, because all that connects, as me and John were talking about earlier. Just thank you for being here, guys. It's awesome, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Yes, take care, everyone. God bless you. We love you. Love your neighbors yourself, and love God with all your mind, body, heart, and soul as much as you possibly can. And take care. See you again. Bye.